I see you're here early, Gabriella. This is a WebEx webinar, so the all the attendees are muted, so I can't. It's not like a Teams event. Let me see here. Hey, Michelle, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh, I gotta put my shirt on.
Your cool hackathon shirt. Campuses are located on the land stewarded by Anasabe under and Ondusane nations. We acknowledge Treaty 13, Toronto Purchase, signed with the Mississaugas of the First Credit First Nation. We are all interconnected as treaty people and shared obligation to learn, respect, honor, and sustain.
There we go.
All right. Land stewarded by Anasabe. Well, and welcome to the 2023 Thinking North Smart Cities Hackathon event. I am honored to have you all here with us today. My name is Michelle Grant, and I am the Senior Events Manager, as well as a recent grad here at Seneca. I will be hosting. I will be your host throughout.
Just so you know, the attendees can come in early too.
Okay.
I wanted to do a little loop. Yeah.
Okay. We're starting promptly at 12:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe before you start, Michelle, remind me to record it.
Okay.
That would be one of my usual mistakes.
Well, that's when you're a professor. It's the thing, yeah.
Yeah. He's muted though. That's okay.
Thanks, Neil.
Oh, by the way, I got a note from Mark Stolte. So the all the shirts are being delivered today to my house.
That's exciting.
The lanyards are coming tomorrow.
Hopefully they don't ring the doorbell when you're talking.
Very likely that they will, so I'll just mute it maybe. I have a lot of control here when you have these WebEx meetings, so I can go to somebody and just mute them.
Okay.
I'd like to know what the thing is that, my background looks clear, yours looks blurry, and then everybody says if it's not their own, that's blurry, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why that is.
To me as well, Michelle, your background looks a bit blurry than Mark's.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's not a bug, I guess. It's a feature.
Hmm. This is the 4th annual hackathon. I can't believe it.
We started, it was a pandemic thing. So this is sort of feels like our first, right? Because it's
Oh, that's true.
the first where we're having it in person. I mean, it's hybrid, no matter if you really wanted to give it a word, it would be hybrid because we're not doing everything in person, right? Like most things are actually still virtual, but just even the thought of being in person for the final is quite a relief.
I wonder what it's going to look like next year.
I guess we'll see what the feedback is from this year, right?
Hmm.
The attendees, we plan on starting at 12:30, pretty much on the nose. A bird's eye view of our participation is we have about 138. We have 138 teams formed. There's probably still a few stragglers running around that are looking for teams, so the number could go up from there. 16 teams in the First Nation category, 26 teams in the mental health category, 20 teams in the smart business category, 13 teams in the smart buildings, 29 teams in the student experience. So between the student experience and the mental health, those would be our top sets. 20 in the data privacy and security, and 14 in the smart health. So
Oh,
so what should be, these are all team sites, so you do need to sort of make sure that your student officer knows what your challenge set is, and then they register you into the team site. And then once you're in there, you'll get access to research materials, but most importantly, what we call seminars. And that would be when a subject matter expert is giving a presentation on something. So for instance, with the First Nation Challenge, it would be a seminar put on by Roche Canada that talks about diabetes. And then there's also mentoring sessions. So mentoring sessions would be where the students go back to the same subject matter experts and show them or get feedback from them about their ideas. So you know, depending on your challenge set, you will see seminars available to you and mentor sessions available to you. Of course, when we do it live on the Saturday, then those become live sessions instead of virtual sessions. Hello, Sodaba. I see.
Mark, long time no see.
Yeah, I see Nigel here too. We should be starting pretty much on time. We'll wait to see Ben arrive here. Hi, everyone. So we'll begin in a minute or so. Just give people a few more seconds of time. Since this is a WebEx webinar, there's not that much ability for you as a participant here to see others and chat with others, etc. It's a little bit more of a restricted environment. We're only doing this for this opening keynote session. Other than that, your sessions are using Microsoft Teams, so you have much more flexibility. All right, I see Ben here.
Hello.
So everyone, I suggest we give it one more minute and we'll get the session going. I am going to be recording the session. All right, Michelle, I suggest you take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Hello, and welcome to the 2023 Thinking North Smart Cities Hackathon event, the qualifier rounds. I am honored to have you all here with us today. My name is Michelle Grant, and I am the Senior Events Manager, as well as a recent grad here at Seneca. I will be your host throughout this exciting qualifier round. Before we spend time with our esteemed keynote speakers, I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. Seneca College acknowledges the land on which its buildings are housed and where students, faculty, support staff, and members of the public gather. This is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We are grateful to be guests on this space, and we recognize that this is our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain the land. Seneca campuses are located on the land stewarded by Anasabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat nations. We acknowledge Treaty 13, Toronto Purchase, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We are all interconnected as treaty people with shared obligation to learn, respect, honor, and sustain. Today, this land continues to be home for many diverse Indigenous people, including First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We are grateful for the continuous and unceasing Indigenous stewardship of these lands and waters. To fully appreciate and benefit from Indigenous perspectives, we must educate ourselves about their histories, cultures, and contributions. By raising awareness and understanding, we can build more inclusive, equitable, and effective solutions in the realm of smart cities. Throughout this hackathon, I encourage each of you to approach your projects with an open mind and a willingness to learn from diverse perspectives, including those of Indigenous peoples. Collaboration and partnership with Indigenous communities can lead to meaningful change and more sustainable urban environments. I urge all participants to keep the land acknowledgement in mind as you work together on the innovative solutions. The first guest speaker to start us off is Ben Rogers. Ben is the Dean of Seneca Innovation, and we are honored to have him here with us today. He has Masters of Business, Entrepreneurship, and Technology degree from University of Waterloo and extensive experience with Mars Innovation Center. Without Ben's support since the first day, this, our fourth annual hackathon, would not be possible. Dean Rogers will be discussing the Smart Cities innovation. We appreciate your support. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dean Ben Rogers.
Thank you. So you can see my slides.
Yes.
So greetings to all of our participants, panelists, mentors, and sponsors. I'm Ben Rogers, Dean of Seneca Innovation, which supports entrepreneurship, innovation, and applied research activities at Seneca Polytechnic. I'd like to welcome everyone to our 4th annual hackathon. This year is special because for the first time, we'll have an in-person all-day finale event. Our title sponsor is the Thinking North Investor Network, and our theme is Smart Cities. At Seneca Innovation, our goal is to facilitate innovation within our community and promote economic societal well-being by providing practical solutions to real-world technical and business challenges. We strive to foster a culture of innovation among Seneca's students, faculty, staff, and community. Hackathons, especially ones associated with a deep cause, are wonderful exhibits of innovation. We take great pride in promoting innovation, not only for the benefit of the immediate Seneca family, but as active contributors in our greater provincial, federal, and global communities. We recognize the significant responsibility we have in making the world a better place, and we're committed to fulfilling our role. Speaking of community, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to participants from 32 institutions across Canada who've registered. I'd also like to give a special recognition to our friends and partners at Conestoga College and York University, who have over 150 students participating. We also welcome our participant from partner school PIM University in Thailand. We look forward to fostering friendship, camaraderie, partnership, and healthy competition. Applied research is an innovation methodology to solve practical challenges. At Seneca Applied Research, we found hackathons to be a genesis for our applied research projects. That is, we create direct links between hackathon innovations and eventually funded applied research projects that incubate these ideas and help bring innovations to market. For instance, the Digital Health Hackathon in 2021 brought together students, the Chief Human Resources Officer at Markham Stouffville Hospital, and our partner Trimetra Systems. It led to a funded MyTax NSERC project that yielded AR-powered HR data management systems for Oak Valley Health. Hackathons offer a glimpse at what applied research is like for our students. The greatest advantage to our student research assistants is to gain meaningful project experience directly related to their field of study. Having your resume stand out from a crowd gives you a bigger competitive advantage in getting a job interview, and having industry references and relatable experience helps you in your interview process. The hackathon also provides a glimpse of how our partners view applied research, solving technical problems, leveraging grants, and meeting talented students. In fact, a considerable number of hackathon sponsors and partners are here today. Thinking North, Mircom, CPOS, Opos, Ride Alike, Interchain, Trinetra, Innovate Cities, Scambox Plus are all applied research or Helix partners. A sincere thanks to all of them. So what is a hackathon? A hackathon is an intense and condensed form of experiential learning that's beneficial to students from any program or level of experience, including those who study business, project management, systems design, software engineering, nursing, etc. It's a microcosm of design thinking. Thus, our participants will empathize with key stakeholders within their selected problem domain, define requirements, design a solution, prototype or model, and showcase it to subject experts and investors for feedback, glory, and prizes. And they'll do all this using tools, techniques, and methodologies learned in the classroom. So a smart city is a city that uses data to improve the quality of life for its citizens, enhance sustainability, and streamline urban services. It's all about how to get the data, analyze the data, and use it to achieve results. Specific problem areas we chose in concert with our sponsors for this year's hackathon are related to mental health issues, improving healthcare, improving the day-to-day experience for international students, improving business and commerce conditions for small and medium-sized enterprises, and making our buildings and traffic more sustainable and efficient. We help you to identify problems and stakeholders within our loosely defined challenge sets. You and your team must choose a challenge based on your passion for a particular cause or because you have a wish to develop skills in that area. Our organizers will help guide you through the process and have you set up with your chosen challenge set. I also personally look forward to seeing the innovative solutions that you come up with as an adjudicator on the final day. I'll outline some of the challenge sets we have included this year. and your selection of the challenge set affects which MS Teams site your group will be registered to, as well as who will mentor your team and adjudicate your submission. First Nations Health is a special emphasis challenge. The goal is to leverage technology and data to enhance healthcare outcomes for our First Nations communities. In this year's hackathon, we're proud to partner with the Singh First Nation and Roche Canada to address acute health issues related to diabetes and other health conditions that disproportionately affect First Nations people. We're fortunate enough to work directly with the Singh Director of Public Health, Deg Pagamagabo, to explore this problem from a first-hand perspective, and you have the opportunity to work directly with her and Faith Pagamagabo, Knowledge Keeper, and Marilyn Bocage, Medical Transportation and Program Manager. Changes made within health at Wissahickon need to address what has been described as the diabetes epidemic. Roche Data Science are offering diabetes seminars and direct mentoring support. And the $2,500 cash prize is in addition to the standard challenge set prize of $500 and the $5,000 grand prize should you win. Definitely something for those up to the challenge and those seeking to gain insight on Indigenous matters and truth and reconciliation. Mental health. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about unprecedented changes in our lives, and the resultant mental health consequences have been significant. The increased use of social media platforms, coupled with the lack of face-to-face interactions, creates an environment conducive to a range of mental health issues, including addiction, anxiety, and depression. Online gambling and social media addiction are two areas we've chosen to focus on, and we're delighted to have Dr. Nigel Turner of CAMH as a keynote and mentor along with Dr. Venki Rao. A smart city can also deploy digital tools that help residents access mental health resources, such as online counseling, self-help guides, and mindfulness apps. Smart businesses are the future of community development. Enabling small and medium-sized businesses to compete enables a healthy business community. With the rise of IoT, machine learning, and AI, we can now make businesses and buildings that are more efficient, sustainable, and responsive. I encourage you to explore new ways of using technology to make buildings smarter and more energy efficient. A variety of challenges are provided which align the business needs of our partners, Mircom, Ride Alike, CPOS, and Dorix and Race Atlas. You'll have access to key staff and executives at the hackathon, and they will also be acting as judges. Smart Health is the challenge area of highest interest to our title sponsor, Thinking North. You'll have the ability to work with them as well as seminars and mentoring from Predict Medics to get a glimpse inside the next level of healthcare, a matter most dear to all Canadians. Remember that Thinking North will pick 3 winners from across the spectrum of challenges on the final day. They'll each be invited to a private lunch with potential investors and VCs. We have challenge sets for those interested in AI for cybersecurity and digitizing post-mortem data collection. You'll hear a keynote today from Sodaba Rameh. Finally, much attention in Canada is now directed to understanding the particular stresses of our international student community and the difficulties navigating new culture, high costs, and rigorous work permit laws. A smart city is one that creates positive experience for our international students who come to study and perhaps immigrate here. In conclusion, I'd like to thank all of you for being part of the Smart Cities Hackathon. I'm confident that together we can make a real difference in the lives of our communities. Let's use our creativity, ingenuity, and passion to create innovative solutions that will make our cities smarter, more sustainable, and more inclusive. I look forward to seeing you all in person on Saturday, May 6th at the site building for the finale.
Thank you, Ben, for your inspiring words. Next, we have Dr. Nigel Turner. Dr. Turner is joining us today from CAMH and is here to talk about post-pandemic mental health changes. Dr. Turner is a scientist at CAMH and holds a PhD in experimental psychology from Western University. Dr. Turner also helps with the prevention of addiction of social media and gambling. Dr. Turner has supported our hackathon for many years and is one of our most interesting speakers. This is one of our most popular challenge sets, so let's hear more about it.
Good morning. Okay, I shall share my screen. Okay, is that visible?
Looks good.
Okay, great. I'm always a little amazed when technology works. Sometimes it works well. Okay, so I'm Nigel Turner, PhD. I work at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. 1995, I got my cognitive degree in cognitive psychology, and I've been working at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health since 1995. And you may recognize me. I've been on TV quite a bit lately, talking mostly about the ads regarding gambling ads, and I was also actually interviewed about the Fortnite, recent Fortnite lawsuit. So I've been getting a lot of media attention. So I'm going to talk about the problem set. I'm going to talk about research methods that I use. I'm going to be giving examples of technology, and it's broadly, not just for this challenge, but for broadly for your career and opportunities for your career. I'll talk about opportunities and issues in the area of mental health and addictions. I'll talk about the ethics briefly, and then do a draw some conclusions. So the challenge was the mental health is a crucial aspect of well-being, and it's essential to maintain it in the hubbub of urban lifestyle, and smart cities is no exception. We know that people who are facing issues but may not be aware of those resources or the leads or how to get help. So these are some of the issues that come under the broad area of mental health and anxiety, mental health and issues. Stress and anxiety, loneliness, depression, self-worth, depreciation, addiction, substance abuse, gambling, excessive gambling, I should say, excessive video game use, excessive social media overuse, a lack of access to nature, accessibility, stigma, and all of these things are interrelated. COVID-19 greatly disrupted the world in many ways. A lot of stress, confusion, fear, dramatic shifts in how people interact and work. It forced everybody to learn how to use the internet for communication really fast. Caught treatment services mostly with their pants down. Most people, counselors, are not used to using the internet or phone even for treatment services, and temporarily closed face-to-face treatment. So people had to adapt. And in the long term, there has been a big shift, a more permanent shift towards less face-to-face treatment and more virtual care. And there's some advantages to that and some disadvantages too. Now, research methods that I've used, I'm a researcher, so I can spend a lot of my time doing research. This includes epidemiology, which are studies of general population, mostly surveys. Purpose of studies, these are non-random samples where you are looking for a group of people to find for a particular purpose. Sometimes it's qualitative, sometimes it's quantitative. Simulation studies, these are research on how games work, for example. Prevention education evaluations. So I've done prevention evaluations, treatment evaluations. So finding out how effective groups are and how to improve them. Now electronics, there's a lot of electronics in research. There's computer adapted telephone interviews, or CATI. Online surveys are becoming more and more popular, things like RedCap. SurveyMonkey, although we're not allowed to do SurveyMonkey, we don't trust its security in terms of security. RedCap is similar, but it's much more secure. There are opportunities in big data linkages, things like tying driving record or healthcare card to survey data. There's artificial intelligence is used to find regularities in the data that would be difficult for a person to see, because often in big data you have too much information, so sorting through it can be difficult. So AI can help there. And simulations, this is where you predict, say, game outcomes. This is what I do anyway. But in other fields, it might use it for weather forecasting or climate modeling. So their simulations are are also quite an important use of computers. Now, I do simulations. This is an app I developed a few years ago. It's not exactly user-friendly, but I developed it just for me. So this was something I developed to examine what are the long-term and short-term outcomes of various games, and it actually reverse engineers slot machines. So I type in the parameters of a game and it reverse engineers them, and then I simulate them. And this is what I get. Graphs showing me the short term, what I call the forest of wins, where in the short term, people will win. And sometimes that can fool them to believing that they will win in the long term. And then in the long term, it's a pretty dismal outcome there. By about 10,000 spins, pretty much everybody's losing. By 30,000, that's the numbers on the bottom, that's 30,000 spins, everybody's losing. So understanding that, and I've used this in prevention apps as well. For treatment and prevention, there are apps for educational tools, apps for self-help tools, animation to illustrate complex ideas for education. For example, animation of the long-term and short-term outcome of games and why losing is not a step towards a win. Apps as resource information and online treatment. I've been involved in most of these in some way. This is an app that I helped develop to monitor your gambling urges. It's a mobile app. It's kind of dated now. It really needs an update. But this is actually still available on the what is that, the App Store. This is another app. This was never made into a mobile app, but this was something put on the computers to educate people about how the long term. So it's based on my simulation work, and there were actually a number of parts to this, and this is just one part that shows you long term and short term outcome. This is an older version. We actually got a newer version that didn't have the slot machine. So it's a little less entertaining, but you see these lovely squiggly lines across the screen. This is our therapist, online therapy. I did a study where I set up an online therapy program. This was before COVID-19. So just as COVID-19 was hitting, we were finishing the study. So CAMH actually was a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of having already played around with online therapy. There are self-help support, online support groups, or mutual help. This is a site where you can go and talk to other people with gambling problems and share stories and try to encourage each other to remain or to quit gambling and to stay, well, sober or whatever. This is something, there are self-help or mutual aid apps for substance abuse, and I don't know if there's any for gaming, but this is in gambling. It's not as well used as it should be, but this is an option that people have available to them. There are also apps for blocking gambling sites. I don't know if there are any similar things for blocking video gaming sites or blocking alcohol ads or something like that. But these block gambling information sites so that you can stop exposing yourself to gambling ads. This is a normative feedback app. It's not a user-friendly app, but this allows people to describe how much they drink, and then it's compared to the population norm to tell them whether they drink more than most people. I'm there in the 3 to 7 drinks a week, which is higher than most people, but it's not that high. There are people who drink much more often than I do. And this app would give you feedback. For example, if you drink 22 drinks a week, this says you are higher, you're consume more alcohol than 95% of the population, and that maybe you should think about this. The reason is that a lot of people who drink excessively, their friends all drink excessively too. So they normatively reflect that condition that excessive drinking is normal, and that can be a problem. This is an app available on OLG's website for gambling. And it provides you with ways of controlling or limiting your own gambling. It's not as good as it could be, but I mean, it's good that they have it anyway. This is a suicide prevention app. It provides you with opportunities for urgent resources, resources in your area, international resources, online resources that you can contact, including contacts. So gives you information about who to contact if you are thinking about suicide. So it's could be useful for some people, especially by providing them with the information they need at the time. So, opportunities and issue. Well, as I said, self-monitoring and craving of usage, mood, or improve self-awareness. So that's one area. We've done some work in that area. Meditation was mentioned before, guided or self-help, encouraging people to engage in meditation. Challenging distorted thoughts and beliefs. Could be something as simple as that being drunk is not sexy, or it could be that the probability if you win, the probably is that you won't win your money back that you've lost. So good reminders that these are distorted beliefs that people have. Reminders to restructure your thoughts, replacing negative with positive thoughts. Like if you know your friends are going out to a party together and you're not, you weren't invited, you might think, oh, I'm an awful person, but then change that thought into something more positive. No, they like me. They just, they don't invite me to everything. So not to be catastrophic about it, they'll invite me to the next time out or something. Resources and information, information about treatment resources, information on treatment or self-help, how it works, what available information is available, and if you substance abuse, needle exchange sites, a guide for homeless shelters or other welfare resources, suicide prevention, and as I said, we'll talk about green spaces. Where are the nearest green space so people can find a park to sit in, relax, and see some greenery? The value of technology is it avoids stigma of going into treatment. Now that's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it avoids the stigma so people get into this resources. They're not prevented from accessing resources because of the stigma. But it also may be meaning they're avoiding admitting that they have a problem. So in some, there's positive and negative aspects to that. There's anonymity in online group support. You can actually get help where nobody knows who you are, and you can, which can make you feel more comfortable with accessing the help. Reaching people of limited mobility, people who have difficulty getting out of their house or for one reason or another, can access online support more easily. Helping people who are homeless and with housing insecurity. This is a lot of them are limited in their mobility because of lack of cash. They can't afford a taxi to take to the nearest treatment agency. So having apps, for example, on phones, and most people who are homeless do have phones, but they don't have internet, but they do have phones they use for Wi-Fi. So that's actually one of the ways of improving accessibility to treatment. It avoids childcare and transportation issues. I mean, that's definitely a problem if you have to pay for a child to. You have to pay for a babysitter to look after your kid. That can add cost. There's transportation issues. If you don't have a car, it might be difficult to get to a treatment service. There are problems, though. Lack of good internet connections. Recently did a study where we were asking what problems people ran into with treatment online, and that was the number one thing: people who don't have good internet connections. Lack of technological sophistication. You're especially with people who are elderly, but not everybody knows how to use Zoom or WebEx or whatever, and There's a high probability that some of those, some people won't be able to get onto a group chat, for example. Weakness in the technology itself. None of these technologies are particularly user-friendly. Some of them are getting better. We're getting better at doing the online stuff, but it's still, this technology needs improvement. Lack of a data plan. Some people, especially people who are homeless, may rely on Wi-Fi because they can't afford the cost of a data plan. And that means there's a communication lag. That's one problem, but there's also privacy issues. If you can only use Wi-Fi and you go to Tim Hortons, for example, to use their Wi-Fi to for your therapy session, well, there's a lot of people in the room. That means there's no privacy for you. So that's a problem. Large areas of the north have intermittent data connectivity. So again, another problem with the technology. Finally, wanted to talk about the ethics of research and interventions because this is something everybody needs to be aware of. It is informed consent. You need to tell participants what is involved in the intervention. What is it that this app is doing? Inform them about any data collection and how it's used. Perhaps an opt-out for data collection. Inform them of any disclosures of information to their doctor or advertisers. People need to be aware of what happens with this app and how it's used. Aware that they have a right to refuse or quit at any time. So informed consent is quite big. Privacy and confidentiality is also really important. People don't want their problems known by everyone. In some cases, it's just embarrassment, and sometimes they might be worried that it could cause employment problems, or it could be related to past criminal activity, such as drug use and selling. A lot of people who are into substance sell in part to fund their drug use. So that issue could they be concerned about. But there are limits to confidentiality. A particular one that's important is suspected child abuse. So if you encounter somebody in some situation where there's a suspicion of child abuse, it's actually mandatory that you should have to report the person if you can. In order to get people to open up in therapy, they need to feel that they are in a safe space. So they need that privacy and confidentiality. Security. Confidential data must be secure. You need to avoid an accidental release of information. You must not discuss confidential information. Like we're told never talk about a client in an elevator or somewhere in Tim Hortons or somewhere where people might overhear it, because that's a potential violation of confidentiality. Cannot send confidential information by email unless it's encrypted. Laptops, thumb drives with confidential information have to be encrypted. And you have to protect that data from hackers and blackmailers, because if somebody gets a hold of the information on a person's gambling problem, that's a potential nightmare for that person. So these are all issues you need to think about in your development of apps. Also, need to be able to balance of risks and benefits. Any potential risks must be disclosed to the participant, like side effects, like on the U.S. drug ads that we're always hearing if you watch U.S. TV. There's in psychotherapy generally, it's the most common risk is of disclosure on the one hand, and of embarrassment or discomfort. Things like triggering bad memories, re-triggering traumatic life experiences. If you're interacting with somebody about their gambling problem, that may be a result of child abuse. And that talking about that can trigger some really bad memories of that. So you have to be aware of these as issues. Therapy may have some risks, but also has some benefits. So you need to balance the risks and benefits, but don't exaggerate the benefits either. That would be considered a typical coercion if you made it sound like this is going to be extremely beneficial. We're not actually allowed to say it's beneficial unless we have data that shows it's beneficial. That's the research thing. So, in summary, there are huge opportunities for applications of technology to addictions and mental health. And that's across the spectrum: depression, anxiety, substance abuse, gambling, technology, video gaming, social media, all across the area of mental health. There's a lot of opportunities that can facilitate care and enhance care, avoid waiting lists, increase accessibility, and so on. So there are many opportunities for self-help applications in mental health and physical health, and these can also assist the treatment process. Lots of opportunities. Things to keep in mind: it must keep the user interested. A gamification if possible. Apps are easy to use and even fun to use, are going to be used more often, but don't overdo it at the same time. You don't want them to become addicted to your app. Be aware of consent, privacy issues, confidentiality, and potential security issues. That's me. I'm a public figure, I guess. So I'm happy being contacted, but it's just so that everybody know that that's me. Okay, so that's basically my presentation. I'll stop sharing, and if is there a question period, or if there's question, I don't know if there's questions or.
We could open it up for a couple of questions.
If you have questions, put them into the chat.
Okay.
That was great. So those students that have registered for the mental health challenge set, I'm sure that you want to dive deeper with Dr. Turner here. And so we have two types of things that we offer. One is seminar sessions. So similar to right now, that's mostly where Dr. Turner, and then we also have Dr. Rao will talk and tell you about their research. But the second part is a mentoring session. And in the mentoring session, this is, you flip the tables a little bit, and that would be where you present your idea to them and they'll provide feedback for you in terms of what they think and maybe adjustment areas, etc. Because they will both be judges at the final event on the Saturday.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dr. Turner, for your very interesting presentation there. Following Dr. Turner, we have Steve Singh. Mr. Singh is the CEO of Thinking North. Thinking North is our title sponsor for this year's hackathon. The Thinking North Investor Network will connect your innovations directly to Bay Street investors. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, Michelle. Is my camera? There's no access. You guys see me? Mark, can you see me?
No.
Okay, because I'm trying
you might have to go into the audio and video and just set it to your camera.
Yeah, so I'm in there now. Okay. Now I'm unmuting and then making it off camera, but not be available. You know what? Give me one. Let me go in the settings quickly.
Yeah, we'll give you. Yeah, no problem, Steve.
Thanks.
I'm looking here, and we started a little early with our session, so actually we're trending pretty good with our timing here.
Yeah, no, I saw.
Maybe there's a question here, Nigel. How do we deal with legal ramifications of data collections when tracking data or collecting digital forms?
Well, I would think part of that would be informed consent. Also, being aware of privacy laws. You'd have to check with, like, we have a privacy officer at work who if we have some information we're not sure about, we run it by our privacy officer and to get permission to do things. This way, we have we also have a consent ethics board that we will run ideas by. So when you're doing this professionally, if you're working with an institution like CAMH, there would be a process where in developing your app, you would actually run this by the ethics board to make sure everything is correct in terms of legal and confidentiality rules.
Okay. Steve, you were popping in and out there, your video. Do you want to try again?
Now you're on twice.
It probably came back as a. There's another question for you in the meantime, Nigel. Our team wants to have a session. Okay, yeah, there is a schedule for that. We call it mentoring. So during the mentoring sessions, that's when our partners and mentors are making themselves available to provide you feedback. So you will get those mentoring sessions through your Microsoft Teams site.
It is scheduled for tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Okay.
with Dr. Nigel.
Can you guys see me now?
No.
Still not seeing me?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's, you know,
I think you need to
You
log
popped in for a second.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
let me,
but you're,
I'll get back out real quick.
Well, I guess we'll, he won't have to fuss with the technology when it's the in-person session. So.
It's
Uh,
actually
and
funny.
this is a great example of what I was talking about the technology glitches.
Yeah. What's also funny is that we just talked. Larry, I see you, Steve.
Well, you know what? I apologize. Normally, I'm very, but it looks like there was a little. Anyway, hi Nigel. Just enjoy. Okay to go, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Steve Singh. I'm the North, a big financial network group. It's a pleasure to be here today because I am interested in smart technology, and I'm really to hearing what some of the students come up with. There's a funny investment and a bunch of reasons why an investor you should be investing in smart cities. It's a growing market. The smart expected to grow significantly years as cities are to become more efficient and connected. So this presents an opportunity to tap into a rapid market. The reason is the potential
Steve, for whatever reason, I'm going to interrupt you, Steve, but for whatever reason, your audio is now choppy. So I don't know what to really recommend. Maybe we'll maybe if you're just if you don't have slides, just take the video off, and we should be able to hear you better.
Okay.
If we have a choice between seeing you and listening to you, we'll do the listening.
Okay, so is it really choppy now?
That's better.
Okay, how about right now?
That's better.
Okay, fantastic. So did you catch what I said at the beginning, or should I?
Just carry on.
Okay, so another to invest in smart technology is the potential. As with any emerging technology, there is the potential return because successful companies in this space lead to significant return. Another good reason, investing in smart technology can have a positive ID by improving life, reducing environmental impact, and increasing economic efficiency. Provide investors with responsibility. Another is diversification. City technology in wide range of sectors and education, healthcare, and investing in this can provide investors benefits. One thing,
Steve, I'm just going to have to butt in here, Steve. It's just not working. It's just not just intermittent, but it's a really a poor audio. So what I'm going to suggest, Michelle, is maybe take it back and we'll pass it over to Sodaba, and then Steve can try to come back in through another means. I think that's how we can fix this. Okay. So let's do that. Michelle.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. So Sodaba Rameh is our next speaker. Is the founder of Rameh Law. She holds a law degree from Osgoode Hall Law School at York University. She also is crucial in creating legal smart contracts for smart cities. Sodaba will be talking about smart contracts in the smart city. That is a great topic for our hackathon this year. Thank you, Sodaba.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Again, my name is Sodaba Rameh. I'm a lawyer here in Ontario. I've worked in the legal field for almost 10 years now, and I've started my own firm about 4 years ago. Starting a new firm as a sole practitioner especially, I've faced a lot of challenges, and technology has helped me advance my practice to another level. So today I'm here to talk to you about the problems lawyers and the legal industry are facing due to lack of innovation in legal technology, specifically how blockchain, AI, and smart contracts will be the change in the legal field. So first of all, let's address the problem. Unfortunately, the legal industry is notoriously slow to adapt new technologies, and many law firms are still relying on paper-based processes and outdated software systems. This can lead to a lot of inefficiencies, errors, and overall lack of productivity. And then furthermore, our clients are becoming increasingly tech savvy, so they expect us lawyers to obviously meet them at their level as well. They want to be able to access their legal documents and communicate with their lawyers online, and they want their information to be secure. Unfortunately, the traditional legal system does not always meet these expectations. But the technology actually exists. For now, at the moment, I'm working on a startup called Inherit Chain, and it's basically a blockchain-backed will management software for lawyers, and it helps them save time, provide security for legal documents, and it helps them engage further with their clients. Inherit Chain is designed to solve the problems that lawyers and their clients are facing in managing wills and other important legal documents. So if you really think about it, will is the most important document you make in your life, but you're never there to defend it. And the reason we chose will as one of our areas to improve was because during the pandemic, I couldn't help a client of mine who was hospitalized due to COVID. Unfortunately, he couldn't come to the office to visit me, and I couldn't go to the hospital to visit him. And then at the end of it, I wasn't able to complete that transaction. However, the reason I wasn't able to complete that transaction was because there was no secure way for us to exchange confidential information between the two of us. So at Inherit Chain, what we're trying to do is solve some of the problems using technologies that already exist. For example, we use blockchain technology, which guarantees single source of truth. It also guarantees data privacy and verifiability in the digital world. And as we continue to work on this software, blockchain is also proving to be a pivotal technology in guaranteeing trust. At the same time, we're also using AI to automate most of the tasks. For example, any information that I'm getting from the client, it can be used to actually generate the will, which saves me time. So it's basically a chat GPT for lawyers to use, but to draft wills. There is a lot of innovation that can be done in the legal industry. I cannot, due to lack of time, I cannot give a lot of specific examples in different practice areas, such as family law, business. For example, again, wills, it's an area that we're working on. However, I will give a couple of examples where every single lawyer globally are challenges that lawyers are globally facing. And we encourage Seneca students to take a look at it. And again, it's food for thought. One of the main problems that we face as lawyers is data privacy. Maintaining our clients' data, IDs, and files is a big problem. For example, right now I can have a paper copy or a file or a folder of my client's information and I can put it in storage. But what if there's a flood? What if the building catches on fire? I know these are extreme examples, but anything can happen and I lose all that information. And I'm regulated by Law Society for me to keep this information for at least 7 to 10 years. So if there's a way for us to store this document digitally for that long period of time, it saves a lot of stress for me, actually. And then for us to tie data privacy to singularity of a digital document is also very important. So for example, in the digital world, there may be multiple copies or versions of a typical document. So maintaining a single source of truth in digital world is very important, especially for us lawyers. For example, I can always scan and save all the documents that I have for my clients and save it on Google Drive. But in 5 years or in 10 years, I get audited by Law Society. How can I prove that this exact same digital copy is the same as what I scanned 5 years ago? So there has to be a way for us to prove the single source of truth in with that particular document. And then lastly, one of the main areas of our practice is the first thing that we always do before completing any legal work for our clients is to meet them in person. So we have to authenticate their identity. So they come in person, I meet them, they bring in their ID, and this is all done manually. If there's a way for us to actually authenticate a person's identity online or build trust online in the digital world, that saves a huge problem, or it could be a game changer for most of lawyers who actually practice in this field. As I said, the legal industry is in dire need of innovation. Legislation is a little bit behind as well. I'm actively lobbying change around digitization of legal documents and wet signatures. And I strongly believe that blockchain, AI, and smart contracts are the change that this industry needs. As a lawyer who has experienced benefits of technology firsthand, I strongly believe that these technologies will help lawyers be more efficient, save time, and provide better services to their clients. We're actually very excited to be part of Seneca Hackathon. We've worked with Seneca College and Seneca Innovation for the past 2 years. We've won grants that has helped us build Inherit Change to what it is today. And I want to give a special thank you to Professor Mark Bucker for providing guidance and talent for us to at least release first version of Inherit Change. I just want to give a reminder that we've put together a challenge through Seneca Hackathon around data privacy, and we encourage everyone to participate in that challenge. Myself and my co-founder, Manish Dixit, who is a blockchain expert, are here to provide you guidance and provide mentorship throughout the entire process. Thanks again for having us here.
Perfect. Thank you, Sodaba. It looks like we're going to try Steve again. Steve, are you ready?
Okay. I think this should be a lot better now, right?
Sounds good. Yes.
Okay. I just did a smart city maneuver. I came off Wi-Fi. Okay, so from the top, I'll start all over again. So hi, everyone. My name is Steve Singh. I'm the founder of Thinking North, which is a Bay Street investor network. And I'm really looking forward to this hackathon because smart city technology is of a very big interest to me. I'm a tech guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the students have come up with. There's a lot of money in investing in smart city technology. Here's 4 reasons. It's a growing market. The smart city technology market is expected to grow significantly in the coming years as cities around the world seek to become more efficient, sustainable, and connected. This presents an opportunity for investors to tap into a rapidly growing market. Another reason is the potential for high returns. As with any emerging technology, there is the potential for high returns on investment in smart city tech. Successful companies in this space can experience significant growth, which can lead to significant returns for investors. Positive impact. Investing in smart city technology can have a positive impact on society by improving the quality of life for city residents, reducing environmental impact, and increasing economic efficiency. This can provide investors with a sense of social responsibility and satisfaction. Last, diversification. Smart city technology encompasses a wide range of sectors and industries including energy, transportation, healthcare, and security. Investing in this technology can provide investors with diversification benefits and exposure to multiple sectors. It's very important for investors, though, to do their due diligence and understand what they're investing in. Smart city technology is still in its infancy, and there are risks associated with investing in any emerging market. Investors should carefully evaluate companies in this space and consider factors such as their financial stability, management team, and competitive landscape before making any investment decisions. There are several opportunities for investing in smart city technology, including one, IoT devices, Internet of Things devices. Smart cities rely on IoT devices to collect and transmit data, enabling better decision-making and resource management. Investing in companies that produce or utilize IoT devices in smart city applications, such as smart lighting or traffic management, can be a promising opportunity. Data analytics. This is a big one. With the massive amount of data generated by smart city technology, there is a growing need for companies that specialize in analyzing and interpreting this data. Investing in companies that provide data analytics for smart city applications can be a valuable opportunity. Energy management. Energy management is a critical component of smart city technology, with the aim of reducing energy consumption and increasing efficiency. Investing in companies that provide energy management solutions for smart cities, such as smart city grid technology or energy storage systems, can be a profitable opportunity. Urban mobility. As cities become more crowded and congested, there is a growing need for innovative solutions for urban mobility. Investing in companies that develop or utilize smart mobility solutions, such as ride sharing or autonomous vehicles, can be a promising opportunity. Security and surveillance. Again, this is another big one. Smart city technology can also enhance security and surveillance, helping to prevent crime and improve public safety. Investing in companies that provide security and surveillance solutions for smart cities, such as facial recognition or smart cameras, can be a valuable opportunity. So as you can see, there's a lot of money to be made in investing in smart city technology. But like with anything, be careful with your money and be sure to always research carefully. Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you, Steve, for your remarks. Next, we will be passing it on to Josh. Josh is our managing director for this year's hackathon. With several years of experience as an integral part of the organizing committee for the past 2 years, including serving as the student success director for the Digital Health Hackathon in 2021 and vice chair for the Sustainability Hackathon in 2022. We are fortunate to have his expertise and leadership. Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello. So this will be the third hackathon in a row that I've helped to organize. And since I've done this a couple of times, I think I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to face over the next few days as participants. So I thought it would be a good idea to take this time to give you a few pieces of advice that I think would be valuable to you. So here we go. The first piece of advice I have for you is to prioritize your health. The next few days will be intense, chaotic, and stressful. I know that some of you are going to stay up all night, drink enough coffee to kill a horse, and maybe even burn out. But just know that coming up with the best solution isn't going to depend on how many hours you spend, but on the quality of those hours you spend. So do your best to be well-fed and well-rested, because once you start sacrificing yourself to meet other people's demands, you may end up with nothing more left to give. So take care of yourself first. The next piece of advice I have for you is to focus on stories. While you'll be working on solving different challenges, I can tell you that all those challenges have one thing in common. It's about people. Whether it's a hackathon submission or a successful business, it's always going to be about people. While it's tempting and maybe even comforting to focus on the solution, my advice to you is to focus on the people. Tell their story and how you plan to change that story. The last piece of advice I have for you is to ask for help. People may have varied opinions about Steve Jobs, but he's built one of the greatest legacies of all time. And he said, "I have never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help." You'll find this to be true at this hackathon as well. If you're stuck or have any questions that need answers, ask someone for help. It could be your teammates, it could be your student success officer, it could be me. Most people don't pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. That's all the advice I have for you today. You have a lot of work ahead of you, so go on and make yourselves proud. Back over to you, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. I just wanted to take the time to thank all of our guest speakers today. You have given us inspiration and hopefully ideas on how to jumpstart our innovations. And now we will hear from Mark about what he has to say.
I guess what I'll do is I'll move myself to the stage there. So hi, everyone. So we're going to wait for our final speaker, Dr. Rupa Banerjee. But after her presentation, we're going to be done. So we can spend a little bit of time now just making sure that all your questions about how we're organizing this and what happens next and who's judging. So you guys can blast out any questions that you have into the chat. But in general, here's what's going on. We have the opening session here for you today to give you a little bit of a feeling for all the different challenges and the type of judges and the type of businesses that have been partnering with us. Most of you have selected a challenge set, so that is a very important thing. Your selection of the challenge set, the biggest influence that's going to have is that is going to put you into a specific team site, and that team site will give you access to mentors and it'll give you access to special seminars. As well, when you pick the challenge set, it also influences who is going to judge you on the final day. Okay, so these are things that are important as far as the challenge set. We don't necessarily, think it's a good idea to hop around between challenge sets. It's not really a matter of gambling, like maybe Dr. Turner was talking about. It's not like picking a lottery number. So really, you pick the challenge set and you focus on that and you bear down and you do the best you can. For this hackathon, we've gone through. There's going to be 2 stages to it. The first stage is a qualifier. So we have over 713 students from various different institutions. We're really proud of that, competing in this one. So for the qualifier, what you do is you collect as much information as you can about your challenge set from us, from the seminars that we have, from the mentoring sessions that are available, and then also do your own research, right? And then what you're going to have to do is submit a 4 to 5 minute video. That video will be judged by a team, and that will be judged asynchronously after tomorrow evening. And then on Thursday morning, you'll get a note whether you qualified for the finale or not. Whether or not you qualified, everybody who participates and contributes an entry gets a micro-credential. The finale then is going to be on Friday and Saturday. On Friday, we'll give you further opportunity for more mentorship and more seminars so you can dive in deeper in your topic. And then on Saturday, we need you to come out to Seneca College, and it's at the Finch campus at 4-4. Go to the building that's identified. We have, it's going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it goes till 6 o'clock at night. Hackathons, this is my 10th hackathon. So the hackathons we did prior to the pandemic, they were usually, you show up on a Friday evening after work or after school, or maybe Saturday morning, and then you kind of stay there at that place until Sunday. So usually a 48-hour hackathon with overnight and things like that. So we're still not all the way there. Maybe that's what we do next year. So we still decided to go with the let's call it hybrid format. But on Saturday you come to the event. We'll have breakfast, lunch, dinner. There'll be tables set up for you. Everybody's going to get swag, etc. And you'll have more opportunity this time. The people that you've seen here virtually, them and many others will be there to assist you personally. So they'll have some more seminars, some more breakout sessions, and you'll be able to do mentoring with them directly. So they'll come to your table and they'll provide you advice. And everybody wants you to do the best possible. In the afternoon of the Saturday, there will actually be an adjudication session. So what is going to happen there is you have to get used to being able to explain your pitch in 5 minutes, because what happens is the adjudication will start, and then there's going to be a whole team of judges. You've seen some of the judges here. There's going to be many more. For instance, one of the judges is the...
Sorry to interrupt. It's Friday and Saturday.
It's Friday and Saturday, yeah. But one of the judges, for
Saturday.
instance, is David Peterson, who's the CTO of Microsoft Canada. So he's going to be there all day, helping you, taking interest in your projects, and then he's also going to be a judge. So we'll have a big judging team. But what happens is a bell goes off, they ring the bell. You'll get a schedule of what judges will visit you, and then you have 5 minutes. And then during that 5 minutes, you make your pitch. The judge is able to ask you some questions. You answer those questions. The bell rings, and then they move along. They go to the next one. You will have multiple judges. You have multiple opportunities to present to the judges, and there'll be multiple judges. The judges, when we're done the judging round, will have to go back and adjudicate, and they pick the best for each challenge set. Once that is done, the top three solutions overall will be invited to go on stage and present to everyone. So the top three will do a live presentation. That's the only live presentations we'll have. And then there'll be a quick adjudication, and then we'll have the first prize, second prize, and third prize. First prize is a $5,000. Second prize is a $2,000. Each challenge set winner gets $500. And then there is additional prize for the First Nations challenge, which is $2,500. So if you're in that First Nations set, you have 500. You could win 500 for winning the challenge set, $2,500 bonus prize, and $5,000 for first. It's not really you're not really doing this for the money though. You're doing it. Everybody wins in the sense that everybody has something that they're going to add to their resume that really catches people's attention. That's going to pull your resume out from the pile, and everybody's going to have tons of things that they can talk about when it comes to those interviews. And also, hopefully, you'll be able to use this experience to get some references that you'll be able to use to help you get a job after. I also wanted to point out that Steve is being very modest there, but we really want to thank Steve and the Thinking North Investor Network for sponsoring us. And so think of Steve and top team of his investors also being there, providing mentorship for you. So if you're on the entrepreneurial side, or if you want to know what it takes to get their attention, and they will also be judging. And the Thinking North Investor Network has also announced their own prize, which is that the top three solution in their mind is each one is going to have an individual invitation to a lunch with venture capital persons. So that's kind of the summary that I have. I'll pass it back to Michelle now, and then we can finish with our last speaker for the day.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. That was great. Dr. Rupa Banerjee is from TMU. Dr. Banerjee will be talking to us about international student challenges. She is a leading authority in Canada to speak of such. She is Canada Research Chair and Associate Professor, Human Resource Management, Organizational Behavior, Dimensions Facility Chair, Ted Rogers School of Business Management, Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson University, and Associate Editor, Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion. We can't wait to hear about the international student challenges. Dr. Banerjee.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Is my audio good?
Yep.
Can you hear?
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. It sounds like it's going to be a fantastic few days that you have ahead of you. And I have a feeling that my talk will resonate with many of you. So those of you who have an international student background might really feel like, you identify with a lot of the issues that I'm going to be bringing up today. So I hope that it helps you with your challenge set coming up today and tomorrow. And I'm also available by email. I'm not around for the next few days, unfortunately. I have some traveling to do, but I am happy to answer questions if you have any. I'm going to try and share my screen now. Hopefully that will work, and we will get started. Sorry, there seems to be a bit of a hiccup. I'm going to ensure that I have the proper permissions to do it. Give me 1 second. I will be starting my talk in exactly 1 minute. Technical difficulty says that in order for me to share my screen, I have to log out and log back in. So I apologize. These are the joys of doing virtual seminars. So I will be back in 1 minute.
Make sure to come in as a panelist.
Yeah, that's something that comes up frequently. People, and it's particularly in therapy sessions when somebody has a problem. It's often they're not technologically savvy, so it's a challenge.
Yeah, so I see some questions there. So how many teams will be able to participate in the final? So here's a really important thing. When you make your submission, you have to declare whether you're coming to the finals or not. So you actually have to attend in person. So we're not making the finals a hybrid event per se, and we have a minimum requirement that at least 50% of your team must show up to the finals, okay, to be considered. So then after that, we're going to go with a head count kind of thing. So what we're looking at is the person capacity for the final day is 120 students. So there'll be 120 students that will be there, plus the judges and organizers, etc. So exactly the number of teams that will be invited to the finals is not really quite clear. That's why it's really important that you guys say who is able to come and who is not. You don't have to have all your team members there, but by goodness, this is really what this event is for. So if I were you, I'd do everything I can to be there in person. So maybe that shift that you might have booked at the restaurant or something like that, maybe that can wait.
Okay, fantastic. So hopefully you all can hear me.
We can.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think I will get right into it. As was mentioned in the introduction, I'm a researcher at TMU, and my focus is really on the economic integration of immigrants. And so recently I've been looking a lot at international students. Given the growth of the international student sector, it's really, really a huge growing area of temporary residence in Canada today. And so the talk that I'm going to give today really stems from a project that I'm currently working on called From Student to Immigrant, the Migration Trajectories of Former International Students in Canada. And so this is really quite a large project that I'm going to be doing both interviews. I've already started interviews, and also analyzing a quantitative data set to look at some of the challenges that international students face when they first arrive, first of all, as students, but then also their challenges in their migration journey to actually transition to permanent resident status if they want to. And then finally, looking at some of the issues that international students actually face once they are permanent residents. So the journey doesn't end after you graduate. Of course, it's just often the beginning of another journey to actually become permanent resident and eventually citizen of Canada. And not everybody wants that, but I think it is a very common story. So that's what I'm looking at right now in my research, and that's kind of where I'm going to draw a lot of my information and inspiration from for this talk today. So I wrote in an op-ed in the Toronto Star back in November that we are doing a fantastic job as a country bringing in more and more foreign students. But how we actually serve those students once they come here, that's not necessarily going as well as it should. And so I really feel that we have a lot of work to do as a sector, as a society, as policymakers in really making sure that we do the important job of serving the students who come to Canada, not just admit them, but also serve them once they're here. So Canada is becoming a destination of choice for international students. As I said, I think none of this will be news to many of you if you are an international student yourself. So we've seen a steady growth in the number of study permit holders from 2000 to 2022. And, you know, up until about, I would say 10 years ago or so, things were growing, but they were not you know, growing as exponentially as we've seen in the past decade. So in the past decade, international students have just really boomed in terms of their representation within our post-secondary system. During the pandemic, of course, there was a bit of a slowdown, but it really quickly picked up again. And in 2022, we have record numbers of international study permit holders in Canada today. And these span both colleges and universities, but the college sector in particular has been really at the forefront of focusing on bringing in international students. And when you look at which countries are actually top host countries, you know, Canada is really moving up. So over the years, Canada is actually becoming more popular among international students as a destination. And when we ask why, oftentimes ease of getting international student permit, although not always straightforward, the ease of getting that permit, the relatively affordable education relative to other countries, and the perception of a high quality education really play a role. But finally, the view that it's possible to actually become PR in Canada after graduating from a Canadian institution, that it's a pathway to permanent residence, that really influences a lot of folks to come to Canada, whereas it's not necessarily as easy in a lot of other host countries. We've also had a lot of legislative changes, so policy changes over the years that have made it easier and easier for international students to actually transition to permanent resident status. I'm not going to go through all of these dates, but I think a few of them really stand out. The first one is the birth of the Canadian Experience Class. So now we have these dedicated pathways and immigration streams that are for international students and those working in high skill jobs in Canada from abroad to actually transition relatively easily. So that started in 2007, 2008. And in 2008, another really important milestone was the postgraduate work permit program. The postgraduate work permits, of course, allow those who are graduating as international students to actually have a length of time to work and accumulate the work experience that's needed to try and get in through the Canadian Experience Class or provincial nominee program potentially. After that, we see that there were a number of changes more recently. So in 2014, the government started to allow off-campus work permits. And so that meant that students were no longer restricted in terms of being able to work. Before 2014, you could only work on campus. Otherwise, you were not actually permitted to work. But allowing students to work up to 20 hours off campus really increased their economic freedom to be able to actually earn the money they need to get their education. Now, most recently, of course, with the pandemic and the labor shortages in a lot of different sectors, they have now put in a temporary measure to allow work permits beyond 20 hours, as you know. And that really, in many ways is geared towards employers who are desperate for workers. And so in some ways, a lot of people celebrate this policy move because it allows students to not be trapped into only working 20 hours or having to work under the table beyond the 20 hours. But on the other hand, some people do argue that allowing students to work above 20 hours really often cuts into studying. It cuts into the purpose of coming to Canada as an international student in the first place, which is to get an education. So there's really a lot of debate and discussion on kind of the benefits and the drawbacks of allowing that open work permit above 20 hours off campus. International students are a very important source of economic prosperity for Canada. So not only do they pay a lot higher fees than domestic students, but they also, contribute to the labor market significantly. And so in order, basically the international student population actually serves as a source of economic power. So, once international students come here, they're also spending money. They're buying, and they're directly and indirectly contributing to tax revenues. So, it's not just a service that we are providing to the world or to international students. They are actually providing a very important service and economic benefit for us as well as Canadians. International students have been positioned as designer immigrants. And this is very ironic, given that dual intent is a reason why international student permits are sometimes denied. So what I mean is, students who put that they may want to immigrate to Canada often face a denial of their student permit application. Yet, the Canadian government has made it really clear that international students are actually seen as very valuable permanent residents. In fact, they've been deemed to be designer immigrants. Why? Well, there's a number of advantages that they have relative to people who are coming straight from abroad. Number one, they are generally younger, of course, right? So most international students that come to study here tend to be younger than those who are coming straight from abroad after finishing all of their education abroad. There's also the fact that they have a Canadian education under their belt. And this removes the uncertainty that foreign education brings. So we know that foreign education and experience devaluation is a major problem for newcomers in Canada, right? So this is one of the main reasons why newcomers often have to take jobs that are below their skill level. Well, international students don't have that problem because they're actually getting an education from Canada. So credential recognition should not be an issue. While studying in Canada, international students are gathering the local culture. They're hopefully improving their language skills and therefore shouldn't really have significant language barriers by the time they graduate. So all of these factors really position international students as kind of some of the ideal newcomers that should be, enticed or recruited to come to Canada. We know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges that international students face have really come to light. So there were already challenges before the pandemic, but with the pandemic, a lot of those challenges became exacerbated, and also new challenges kind of became very, very obvious. A lot of the challenge comes from their precarious immigration status. Because they are considered temporary residents, most international students do not get access to government-funded settlement services. So services like language training or mental health supports are not provided from the government. And because of this, they really rely on the campus and student support services within their institution to try and, have some source of support. When the pandemic happened, a lot of international students were really hard hit because their source of support, suddenly disappeared when campuses were closed. International students were not able to work, and faced a lot of financial hardship, in fact, more financial hardship than other students during that period, let alone the challenges with actually getting study permits, issued and approved during that period. Now, the challenges facing international students really run the gamut from the moment they think about whether they should perhaps apply to go abroad for studies. It starts with the exploitation of a wildly growing and unregulated recruiter market within a lot of source countries. So as many of you, I'm sure, know, the recruitment sector forms sort of an intermediary that really try to bring in international students to a lot of these host countries, including Canada. Post-secondary institutions are working alongside these recruiters oftentimes. And while there are some really high quality recruitment agencies that do exist and do operate, because it is largely unregulated still, there's a lot of exploitation starting from that very point. So we've seen a proliferation of recruitment agencies throughout a lot of these source countries. And I can talk about India, for example, whereas, a decade ago, recruiters tended to be in larger centers. Now there are recruitment agencies in every town and small, village almost even. And so this makes the choice of coming abroad that much more sort of pressured in many ways. Once international students come to Canada, the challenges just continue. So we know that housing is a major concern for a lot of international students, particularly in urban centers where the cost of housing is unattainable, and living in sort of really exploitative conditions makes their experience from the get-go, from the day they land in Canada, that much more challenging. Not only do they have to face housing challenges, oftentimes that housing is very far away from where they're going to school. And so the transportation is also a part of that challenge. Now, discrimination and racism is inherent in a lot of these systems. So a lot of international students, although they're allowed to work off campus, find that there's a lot of challenges to actually finding work that's in perhaps an area that's related to what they're studying, which leads many of them to low skill and low wage jobs that really have nothing to do with what they're studying. And so this has multiple ripple effects. So we know that in order to get PR status, you need to have a high skill, quote unquote, high skill job. And yet when you face discrimination and challenges to actually getting employment, both during and after studying, getting that PR status becomes that much more difficult. Finally, we know that culture shock is a major issue. And as I said earlier, international students don't get access to settlement services funded by the government, yet the culture shock is no less real for them than it is for newcomers coming through any other stream. So for a new international student, culture shock really refers to the anxiety that is induced when you have to move into a completely new environment. That lack of familiarity often leads to a lot of very, very negative symptoms. So homesickness, the desire to really isolate and not engage in social settings. This can sometimes lead to hostility towards where they are currently living. Sometimes students have actually reported that, they feel like they have been tricked in some ways, right? They've been recruited by recruiters with a certain kind of promise or a certain kind of view and vision of what it will be like. And yet once they get here, the challenges they face, coupled with culture shock, really hit home and lead to a lot of anxiety, depression, feelings of helplessness, and difficulties concentrating, right? How can you actually do well in school when you feel this way? So it's important to remember this is a very normal process, and a lot of newcomers in general go through it. But I do think that international students in particular face a specific brand of culture shock due to the extra challenges that they experience. So, these challenges have consequences. So if students stop showing up to class, if they feel like they can't do this anymore, well, you know what? They're going to lose their status and they're going to lose their chance at becoming PR. We also know that going into part-time status is not an option for international students, which makes it extremely challenging, particularly when they also have to work outside of campus to fund their education. If students are not able to keep up, if they feel they can't keep up full-time status, they lose their permit. And if they lose their permit, some actually end up not being documented in Canada. So some leave, but some actually end up becoming an undocumented person in Canada. And so this actually has the potential to produce a market of undocumented folks who, you know, are kind of like stuck in limbo, in no man's land, perhaps seeking asylum because they are not able to keep up with their student permit. I've argued that by removing the 20-hour work week limit, the current system really has created a temporary foreign worker stream that's administered by higher education institutions, because we know that international students are doing a lot of low-skill work that's really not related to what they're studying here. So these new policy interventions have, you know, in some ways empowered international students, but then on the other hand, also has, you know, placed other pressures on international students. So there's always sort of a give and take with policy interventions. We know that studying alone and having study permits alone is not enough anymore to actually get PR. 88% of those who were able to actually transition to permanent resident status in Canada had multiple temporary visas. It wasn't just, you know, study permit, PGWP, and then PR. There's usually a circuitous, complicated, and long process before people actually are able to transition, if they are able to transition at all. So, you know, this places international students in a really vulnerable position to really fall into exploitative employment and also, you know, undocumented status, as I said. The ability to actually transition to PR is certainly not guaranteed. Only 3 out of 10 international students who arrived in the 2000s became PR within 10 years. So if, you know, they were working while they were studying, this became 6 out of 10, right? So working while studying, particularly in an area that's high skilled, really helps while you, in order to become a permanent resident. Becoming a permanent resident is the start of the next journey. It's not the end. It's not the destination. We know that immigrants in Canada face numerous labor market barriers, and while international students do tend to do better than one-step immigrants in terms of their earnings, they still earn less than Canadian counterparts, which means if you compare yourself to a Canadian graduating from the same program and you are an international student, there's a number of factors that might lead you to have more disadvantage than them in the labor market. So here's just some data to prove my point. You know, 5 years after graduation, international students, international graduates and Canadian graduates, comparing apples and apples, still earn less than their Canadian counterparts. So they are able to make some headway over time, but you know, it doesn't really allow international students to kind of reach their Canadian counterparts within 5 years. And what you study and what level you study matters. So these numbers are very small, I apologize. But the point I want to make with this is that studying in a STEM field versus a business or humanities or social sciences field actually makes a difference. And whether you're studying at the college level or university level also makes a major difference. So we know that in general, STEM grads tend to do better. And in general, the higher level of education you're completing in Canada as an international student, the better you end up doing. What can we do to improve this process? Well, there are a number of pathways or a number of strategies that could be taken. So first, there should be better coordination between the granting of study permits and the number of international students that actually get selected for immigration. Right now, we have an uncapped system where study permits can be unlimited, depending on how many the institution wants to bring in. Yet, the number of PRs is capped, is limited. And so having no coordination between these two places international students in a really vulnerable position. It's also very important to be much more transparent. And so this goes back to the recruiters. There are some efforts lately to actually try and regulate the recruitment agencies, to try and make them more responsible in increasing the transparencies. But the government also plays a major role in being transparent about this. Finally, we need settlement support. We need robust settlement supports from colleges and universities. We need settlement supports from government-funded settlement services. So these interventions really don't just operate at the government level, at the policy level. There's a lot that institutions can and should be doing. So first and foremost, work-integrated learning opportunities are vital for gaining professionally relevant Canadian experience. And this is more important for international students than for Canadian students. We need co-ops and internships to help international students actually integrate, actually become the designer immigrants that they are touted to be, that they're positioned to be. So there's a lot of complication there, as many of you might know. In order to actually get a co-op or an internship, you need a separate kind of visa. And so it's not as simple for international students to actually access work-integrated learning opportunities. But in my view, this is incumbent upon the institutions to actually provide opportunities to integrate work experience into learning so that students aren't working at fast food or other unrelated jobs just in order to get some Canadian experience. Oops. Finally, international students themselves have a role to play. There are things that they themselves can do. So every stakeholder has a responsibility to improve the situation today. First of all, I think it's very, very important for international students to get out of their comfort zone. Because we now have some institutions with almost all international students in some programs, it's important for international students to actually venture out of that comfort zone to interact with people who are not from the same background as them, who are not international students, who are Canadian. That intergroup connection is what is going to allow international students to actually build social capital, to build social networks, to be able to do well once they actually become PR. So this also builds into kind of growing a support system for yourself, right? So there are so many challenges that international students face once they arrive here. It is absolutely crucial to build that support system from day one. Networking in the Canadian workplace culture is almost everything, okay? So I'm gonna say that learning how to network should be part and parcel of your international student experience. Find out about internships and co-op opportunities. As much as the institutions play an important role in providing them, it's really important for students to actually, really advocate for themselves to try and get those opportunities as well. Finally, find those resources to help you. There are some programs, specially funded programs that are for international students to try and help them overcome mental health challenges, culture shock, all of those issues that I've been talking about. They're not always easy to find. So I think it's really important to seek those out, find people in the institutions that you are attending to actually help you find them, and kind of advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself to try and build the supports and settlement supports that you need to actually do well in Canada. So that's all I have here. I'm going to stop sharing. I hope that provides a bit of background, a bit of research, but also practical issues that international students face. I know many of the participants here today may be international students yourself, so I'm really speaking about your experience. So in fact, you're the expert, and so hopefully you can use your own lived experience and your expertise to do well on the challenge that's coming up over the next few days. I'm open to questions. I'm not sure if we're taking questions right now.
Keep my eye on the chat here. That was excellent. Thank you very much. Excellent talk. Thank you. Very insightful. Thank you, Rupa. That was quite insightful. I think lots of people happy, but we haven't got the questions yet. So those, what Dr. Banerjee is talking about here is what we're trying to address in the international student experience challenge set. So I think it really, your last chart was really important because it's something like get out of your comfort zone. The whole hackathon is basically a networking event. So get networking, speak up, do you understand your situation more than anyone else. So, here's a vehicle, a forum for you to highlight what exactly that problem is, what your solution vision is for the problem, and do your bit to make things better. David says he's signing up for your class. I was running in and out a little bit because the doorbell was ringing, but it was for a good purpose. So here is the swag that we're going to be getting. So all the, we talk about the t-shirts. So everybody that's coming to the final day is going to have a shirt like that waiting for them. So that was the reason why I had to run out and see the door.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right, back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dr. Banerjee. It was very insightful. Thank you once again for joining us today. I wish you all the best in the exciting challenges that lie ahead, and I look forward to seeing the incredible ideas that emerge from this hackathon. Let the qualifier rounds begin.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, just a couple. We have recorded this this entire session, so we'll be processing that. And I think the first thing that we do is we make recordings or parts of the recording available to the website. But yes, we have recorded this. And yes, we have different sizes of shirts. So make sure you put your size request in. Thank you so much, everybody. We have great attendance here. The sessions are all recorded, so those that weren't able to watch it here can watch the recording. Thank you so much, and we look forward to, we're just starting. So start hacking. We'll see you in your breakout sessions, and we'll see you on Friday, and then we'll see you on Saturday in person. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.